All right, so we start in 3, 2, 1. Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome to the first episode of For Film's Sake. I'm here. Well, I'm Brian Archilla, and I'm here with.
Oh shit! Okay, all right, yeah. And I'm Chris Lucky.
Yeah, and we're here to talk about film, television, and whatever the hell we want. We have a little bit of bad language.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But we'll get through it. So, Chris, how you doing today?
Great, doing good.
Sweet. All right. So, first of all, the thing I want to talk about, we're a new podcast.
Yep.
So I feel like we should explain how the hell this is going to work.
Definitely.
And what's going to happen is every episode we're going to have a little bit of a catch-up session because we see each other pretty often when we go to school at the same time. We only see each other 2 days a week.
Yep.
So in 2 days we can't talk about everything that we want to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to catch up and we're going to start talking about the things that we've seen, things that we've liked recently, things that we're excited for in the next following weeks or the next months or whatever. Mm-hmm. So the first 15, 30 minutes are just going to be us shooting the shit for a while. And then we're going to have a little bit of a mini segment where we do some funny stuff or try to be funny.
Sure.
And then after that, we're going to move on into a specific topic that we want to talk about. And today's a little bit more free form because it's the first episode. I want to give you guys a chance to know why we're doing a podcast about film and what film means for us.
Yeah.
So let's get right to it. What does film mean for you?
For me, I grew up in watching television, grew up watching film, and just basically idolizing a lot of the people that I saw through the television, wondering why their lives was so much different than mine. And, just as a kid, I thought that was real. I thought the people that were in the characters in the movies were real. The character that Ricky Ricardo is a real person that I can go see one day, But
Funny thing about Ricky Ricardo, when I was a kid, because I'm Hispanic, he was kind of the central Hispanic stereotype when we were kids. And I used to watch Ricky Ricardo. And I thought, is that what I'm going to be when I'm older?
Mostly it is. Yeah, that would be, yeah.
You got some splaining to do. Shut the fuck up, Ricky.
Yeah, but it's like, I just thought that was all real. So I just idolized a lot of those people that I saw growing up and wanting to be a part of that world. So it led to writing in various facets, music, poetry, short films, things of that nature. So, I mean, film for me is a release. It enables me to express myself the way that I want to without judgment,
I think that's true. I think, same here, I was a kid. We come from very different backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in Puerto Rico for 10 years. Where did you grow up? You grew up in Virginia? Or?
I grew up in Charlotte. I grew up here.
Charlotte? Okay, you grew up in Charlotte. So we're from very, very different cultures in terms of what we grew up watching and how we consume our stuff.
Yeah.
But oddly enough, our intentions for film are the same. We just want to tell a good story because we saw what those stories could do for us when we were kids. And I think that providing that release to someone else as well as filmmakers is one of the best things that we can do in the world from our perspective. Oh, yeah. And I think that's the greatest thing about film. That's what it means to me. Film, for me, is nothing more than a vehicle for a good story. Yeah. And a good story can do so many things for someone else, and we don't even know it. Yeah. I doubt Quentin Tarantino knows how many times I watched Reservoir Dogs and how many times it's influenced me.
I think he's arrogant enough to think that everyone's watched that film millions of times.
You know what? With Quentin, that might be a fair point. But okay, so what kind of stuff did you grow up watching?
It was just mostly black film, I guess, comedy. If I didn't see a character in a movie that I could identify with, so another black person my age or another black person that I would grow into, so those films were something I gravitated into, or even television shows like In Living Color, idolizing Keenen Ivory Wayans and a lot of the people in the Wayans family. Just how they would do a lot of parody and spoof type of things, and that just seemed right in my alley at the time. As a elementary kid, going up to junior high, I would just watch those television shows and then go back and mimic exactly what they did. Wayne's Brothers had Pops. He made a song called My Love Going Bang Bang Bang. So he's singing this Love Going Bang Bang. So I'm like, all right, 11-year-old, I get up in the class and I sing this song word for word, Love Going Bang Bang Bang. And they had never heard this song before, on this black television show, The Wayans Brothers. And they're thinking, oh, this guy is amazing creating this. I'm like, no, it's on television, clear for you to see.
That's interesting because both of us grew up being sort of the loner, socially anxious kid. We've talked about this before. Oh, yeah. Outside of whatever we do. But we grew up sort of socially anxious. Yeah. And I feel like for us, all that kind of stuff, you know, the televisions, the cartoons, the weird comedies that we would catch when we were supposed to be asleep.
Yeah.
And our parents were stupid enough to put a telly in our room.
Yeah.
So we just got all sorts of weird shit, and we started basing our worldview on these things.
On the television, yeah.
And I think that's part of why we want to be filmmakers.
Yeah.
Because we were so sort of isolated from the rest of the world as kids.
Yeah.
That this became our world. And we didn't even know that it would lead to us trying to be that world when we were adults.
Yeah.
I wanted to be an engineer when I grew up. And then I found out that was rubbish. Yeah. And then I wanted to be a biologist. Then I found out that fuck that.
All right.
And then I wanted to be an English major. That's when I discovered writing about 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And writing was fun because for the first time I felt like I was in control of something. And writing was one of those things that I really, really wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I did it for a while. I got good at it.
Yeah.
But then I started watching film and started watching television, like much more I can't say that word. Analytically.
Analytically, yeah.
Yeah. So I started watching film not only for the entertainment value or its background noise, but I started watching film.
Yeah.
So every time I saw a movie, I was like, why did they do that? That seems like a weird choice to do. What's the story behind this? And I started reading about behind the scenes. And to make the long story short, from the time I moved here, which was in 2010, now it's 2016, it's almost 6 years since I've been here.
Yeah.
That's when I really, really, really got into film. And that's when I started learning about behind the scenes, about productions. I started learning terminology. And during the time that I was a writer, I was like, well, if I'm writing English already, and I know that I like movies, why can't I try to write a movie?
Exactly.
And I did that, and that's when I really got into the world of filmmaking, when I started to write a movie. Because to write a movie, you have to understand what a movie is.
Yeah.
And you have to know so many of the subtleties of, like, the film language and editing and, you know, and fucking making a budget and all that shit.
Yeah, a lot goes into it.
Yeah, a lot goes into it, and you don't know that when you start out as a filmmaker.
Definitely not.
You're just kind of like, oh, I'm going to make a movie.
Yeah.
And then someone tells you, well, do you have a budget, a script, a plan, a storyboard? And you're like, what the fuck?
Shit, I don't even have a
all
camera.
that?
Like, what do you mean? I have a budget.
So I feel like because of that, because we were sort of the socially anxious kids, and we were sort of the morbidly curious kids that would watch a television show. I was like, I wonder why that was said. Yeah. That we grew up into film, and that led us into having a lot of shit to say about film. Yeah. And that's what made the podcast happen. Funny story, you hit me up.
The same day?
Yeah.
The same day that you were looking into making a podcast, I was going over the same thing, 5 miles away from here in my own house. You know, talking to my girl, she's like, yeah, you should make a podcast. I'm like, oh yeah, let me hit up Brian.
And then that same morning, like an hour before you messaged me, I'm sitting here at my desk, just going like, I should make a fucking podcast. Because I got a whole lot of shit to say, no one to say it with. I should find someone to make a podcast with. Yeah. As soon as I finish that thought, I get the little blip from Facebook. Hey, you want to make a podcast?
It's crazy how things happen.
Yeah, so here we are. We're fucking talking about film. Yeah. And I gotta say, a lot of the shit that I watch, I'm Hispanic. I grew up in Puerto Rico. Yep. But Puerto Rico became very Americanized by the time that I was starting to grow up in it. Okay. So a lot of the films and televisions that I watched turned out to be a lot of they were really white films, white television. Yeah. They were sort of like the mainstream content that would be categorized as a white audience.
It's like Friends, Two and a Half Men.
Yeah, Friends, Two and a Half Men, sort of fucking Danny Phantom when I was a kid, sitcoms, How I Met Your Mother, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And I say white audience with quotations and finger marks because I mean that as like a major mainstream audience, which is predominantly white.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. So I grew up doing that. Yeah. And I just thought that was what film was. I didn't think about it. I just thought, all right, well, that's what film and television is. Yeah. And I met you a couple of months ago. A couple of months ago. Yeah. And you started talking about black films and introducing me to all this other shit that I didn't know about or that I didn't even think about because it was never pushed on me in my perspective. So I'm curious, what are some of the quintessential black films that you grew up watching?
I don't know if I can be the representative of black people for black films, but just in my opinion, some of the premier black films for me is going to be, Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing. Another Spike Lee film, She's Gotta Have It.
That one sounds familiar. I don't know about it, but that one sounds familiar.
That was really good. And one more from Spike Lee, gonna name She Hate Me. It wasn't one of the more critically acclaimed films that he did, but it just went over how, just this the black issue with fatherhood, how there's a pretty big problem in black culture, even still to this day, with black men not fathering their children, or just having multiple children and not being in their children's lives. And She Hate Me was just a complete hyperbolic take on it, an extreme exaggeration of that. In the film, he ends up impregnating, 40, 50, 60 women,
Christ.
in this film, and, had no intention of fathering them, so it was just a hyperbolic take on it. And, like one of our teachers, the professor said, Spike Lee is very preachy. He was very preachy early on, but I felt like it was necessary just because the narrative of what black people were in 1980 and 1990, and then him just showing the complete other side of the coin. Not that we don't have our faults, and we clearly do, but there's more to it than that, just like with any other race, but with film, I think it's like I was saying, more than the white film, there's more than black film as well. There's the Indian people, not Native American Indian, Indian. I mean, the Bollywood actresses and actors, they're making great film.
Yeah, Bollywood is one of those weird sort of phenomenons that took over Indian cinema.
Yeah.
But we don't see a lot of it in America. And it always looks really silly when we see it in America, but it's fucking great.
It is, and it's making lots of money.
That's insane. It's rivaling Hollywood, I think.
Is.
It's called Bollywood, right?
Yeah.
It's rivaling Hollywood in the amount of quantity that they produce and the amount of money they're making over back in India.
Yeah.
That's insane.
I mean, they're producing massive amounts of films, and they have just, I don't know what the population of India is, but it's ridiculous. They have
it's pretty massive.
Yeah, they have the people to purchase, lots of entertainment. So, I mean, there's lots of film, television coming out of that area that's not really being recognized. I've seen Life of Pi, that was one that got recognized. It's not a Bollywood film, but it's just not, it's featuring a minority character.
Yeah, well, it's pretty much the whole cast is a minority lead.
It is.
Same with Slumdog Millionaire.
Slumdog Millionaire as well.
That was one of my favorite movies. I watched that back home when it came out.
Yeah.
And that was the first movie that said, maybe you don't need to have a really complicated story
to
be able to make a good film.
Yeah. Yeah. So to the point you were saying, what films was I watching growing up early on? It did start with a lot of the black film, but it didn't limit to that. I didn't immediately jump into Die Hard, I
very good Christmas movie, by the way.
Amazing Christmas movie. Christmas movie is what it is. But I slowly transitioned into it because there's only so much material. I mean, we have so many African Americans here, and so many of them putting out movies, and only so many of them are actually good.
Okay. So, do you think that I'm going to call it black cinema, but I'm not. It's not just limited to black. But I'm talking cinema that sort of black exploitation films and cinema that focuses on black culture.
Okay.
Do you think that it's improved in the later years? Do you think it's getting better? Do you think it's doing something?
I don't know. I don't think there's a movement behind it whatsoever.
Okay.
I don't think there's any kind of movement. I mean, there are more directors like the one we were talking about earlier, Nate Parker.
Oh, shit, that's right.
Yeah, he's a black director, writer, producer. And I mean, you see a lot of black people whenever they do decide to do something like that, they end up going that route, writing their own film, directing their own film. I'm not a huge fan of Tyler Perry, but he came from quote unquote nothing with the fingers, but but now he's close to being a billionaire, from starting something on his own, writing, directing, producing his own things, so I don't really see a force of people joining together to get the black movies on the road, but there's a few people that are doing it. Lee Daniels, Oprah Winfrey, Tyler Perry, Spike Lee.
Oprah Winfrey is starting her own thing with movies?
She funds a lot of movies with Lee Daniels, the butler, and the film with the very heavy set Monique and Gabrielle Sidibe.
I haven't heard about that one.
She won an Oscar. She won an Oscar a couple of years ago. I forget the name of the movie. I'll look it up during the research, but yeah, I don't think there's a big movement or a collaboration of black people trying to push things forward. It seems very individual. Okay. But there are good movies out there, though.
That's pretty interesting. I always like knowing where people come from in film. I think it's fun. I came from the much more sort of mainstream background, like I said. So there wasn't a lot that was particularly interesting to me in terms of cinema. Because Puerto Rico has a very limited... It's not like Spain, or it's not like Mexico and all these other places that they have a very sort of active film community, even if it's limited to their own country. Yeah. Puerto Rico didn't have that because we're pretty American. So I grew up with very American action movies, very American comedies, very American dramas. Yeah. So there was no thing about culture, really. It was just people doing things. that happened. There was no mention of culture, no mention of like how this affects other people. It was just it's kind of like a snapshot in time of those movies.
Yeah.
And because of that, my taste in film, I won't say it's limited, but I never thought about how it could affect how other cultures are affected by film, or how other cultures use film to get a specific message across.
Oh, definitely.
And the reason I'm talking about this is because of the Oscars.
Yeah. Oh, the Oscars.
The Oscars are so white.
Yeah.
And here's the thing: when I first heard about the Oscar thing, I was angry that people were calling it out.
Yeah.
And I was angry that people were calling it out because it didn't make sense to me. Because I grew up watching that all white content. And it didn't make sense to me that maybe there just weren't any good black actors in the Oscar selection. That was my first thought.
Or black editors.
Or black editors. Producers. Or black producers.
Or black writers. Or black cinematographers. You know what I mean?
So that was my first thought. And then I was like, all right, well, this is bullshit. I'm not going to pay attention to it.
Yeah.
But then I started sort of listening to what other people had to say. And then I realized, fucking Oscar Isaac, amazing actor.
Yep.
I really heard about him because of Star Wars.
Yeah.
But I went back and I looked at some of his work. He's a fucking fantastic actor.
Inside Llewyn Davis, yeah.
Hispanic. He was in Inside Llewyn Davis with Adam Driver, too, and Justin Timberlake.
Yeah.
I saw that scene. It's pretty fucking funny.
Yeah.
So we got actors like Oscar Isaac, Michael B. Jordan, who did a fantastic job in Creed.
Yeah.
We have a female Turkish director.
Yeah.
This is the only one that made it to the fucking nominations.
Yeah.
And I was like, and then the more I watch about all these movies and I watch sort of French movies and all this other shit, I'm like, well, fuck, the Oscars are really white.
Yes. Very white.
We should get some variety in there because there's a lot of really good, talented people that are doing all this stuff. And and I feel like we're not acknowledged them nearly as much.
Yeah.
Because of the way that cinema is perceived in America.
Definitely.
The most, and I hate to say it because it makes me sound like a fucking film snob. But I feel like most film consumers in America are just like, I want to see the next big budget thing, and I don't care about what goes into the art. I just want to see pretty explosions.
Oh yeah.
And cheesy lines.
Yeah.
And that's sad because there's so many people putting in so much work into the art of filmmaking. And they go pretty much unnoticed because they're not targeting the demographic.
They're not, but I mean there are a lot of people that do just want the explosions, and the reason behind it is you have to look at where we are in America. You know, the economy has picked up, but there's the poverty level is still low. Middle class is still a huge class. It's basically low class at this point. You know, we're living check to check, day to day. You know, so then when you fit in entertainment and art, when you get to that point to where you've worked 40, 50, 60 hours a week, and now you want to go see a film, you want to turn your brain off. You know, it's like you don't even want to sit and think about why is this, and the composition of anything. You want to see, oh, bow, explosion. You know, it's like you want to see pretty things on the screen, not think about it, and can make you laugh without understanding the joke.
Yeah,
you know?
Pretty much. And okay, now you say make you laugh without understanding the joke.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about fucking comedies nowadays.
Yeah.
Comedies, listen, if you like current comedies, you do you. I respect your opinion. But I think they're shit. Nowadays, comedies are not very good.
Depending on what we're labeling comedy. You know, like dark comedy?
No. We're talking about films that are labeled as comedies, but are really slightly edited improvs. You know, they're not playing with the frame.
Okay.
They're not playing with the sound of what's going on in the cinema. Yeah. They're just people standing in a room or in a chair, and they're doing dialogue that's meant to be funny.
Yeah.
And sometimes it falls short because the context is kind of not there.
Yep.
But they're not creative. Comedies are not creative.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And I think the one director that's doing good comedy is Edgar Wright.
Edgar Wright is amazing.
He's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Just, that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about. American cinema has fallen bland, in my opinion. It's been a little bit bland because we keep doing remakes, we keep doing reboots, we keep trying to push young adult dystopian movies that people are getting tired of.
Well, I can't wait for The Hangover Part 7.
Personally, I can't wait for when they get to like the fucking 28th.
You know? I'm just saying, let's just keep doing reboots over and over and over, sequels forever.
So I think that's my problem with American cinema. I think it's just falling bland.
Yeah, it is.
And I think that because it's fallen bland, we have the people that are in charge of giving us nominations. They just want to give the nominations to the thing that attracts the most demographic. Because at the end of the day, it is a business.
It is.
But I'm really sad that people are putting really good work and really good skills for very little recognition and very little money.
Yeah.
In the fucking field, and we're not recognizing them. So the Oscar thing initially pissed me off, that people were angry about it, but now I get it. I now get that it's fucked up that we're not acknowledging these people.
I mean, it is, and it's like I came from the first time. I was like, it's not just there's no black people in there. If there were 7 Hispanics, 6 Asians, and 3 Indians, I have nothing to say. It is a very diverse group that they chose. But there is all white people, and 1 Turkish director. Yeah.
And even one Hispanic one, Renovan, Alejandro, I forgot his name.
Yeah, I mean it's saddening, and past that, I was getting to the point of just perpetually having doors shut. As far as now with us in the filmmaking, eventually I would hope that one day we're not going to have to fund every single project that we want to do on our own 100%. In the future, hopefully at some point someone will be funding films for us. Now, say me and you, we individually make a film, and critically they both are exactly the same. They're both very, very good. Your film goes on and gets, and in this scenario, you're a white person. Yeah. I'm a black person, you're a white person in this scenario. And your film goes on to be Oscar nominated, And like I said, critically, we're the same type of movie. My movie is not Oscar nominated. 2 years from now, you write another film and it is complete shit.
I automatically have the advantage because I was already Oscar nominated.
Exactly. Whenever a company wants to hire someone to do anything, and I put my resume in and you put your resume in, that door is now open for you. So I mean, it's just a series of doors perpetually being closed. It's not just the Oscar nomination that we can't win the Oscar. It's now that so many doors behind that are being shut as well for a large group of people.
Yeah. No, I get what you mean. I get what you're saying, and it's a sad reality.
Yeah.
And just for the sake of saying it, we're not calling anyone racist that's in the industry.
No.
Or we're not saying that it's a consciously racist decision.
It's not.
I'm just saying that it's a thing that needs to be talked about. Someone needs to have a conversation about it, and someone needs to have a conversation in high places. No matter how many conversations we have very little influence on the outcome of it. But someone in higher places than us needs to have the conversation about diversity in film. Because it's a huge issue that I thought was an unimportant one, but now I realize that we do need to pay attention to it. It's important, especially because I realize now that I'm fucking Hispanic. I'm one of those people that are gonna get fucked.
Yes.
If this doesn't get addressed or if no one talks about it, and I didn't realize that before. So that's kind of why I wanted to mention it. I just think it's interesting that we have that issue still to this day. When there's no blatant racism or blatant discrimination, but it happens in really subtle ways in specific fields. I think
the one silver lining that I found in it, after the whole Oscar thing, I went and did research on it because I'm thinking to myself, if my ceiling is critical acclaim and that I'll never be acknowledged for that, then that's fine. So if it just my skin color is just gonna give me that glass ceiling that I can't break through per se. What I was looking for is what are the other avenues? What's the other route? And it's the National Film Registry. All right, the National Film Registry, each year they choose about 5 films each year. Let's see, 25 films each year. Showcasing a wide range of diversity in American film and heritage. So any film that they deem to penetrate American society to the point that it's culturally relevant. It will be preserved in the National Film
Registry.
Exactly. So I mean, there's films that people don't really think are that great, that are in there. Like critically, Top Gun would have never won any kind of Academy Award, but it's in the National Film Registry.
Because it's a cultural achievement.
Exactly. So I mean, that is the people speaking, saying this movie is so impactful that it needs to be preserved forever. So I'm like, fuck the Oscars. If the people enjoy something that you make that much that it needs to be saved forever, I would much rather be a part of that group. And it's so much, the list of films are so much more diverse than any Oscar winning anything.
Yeah. I like that. I never pay much attention to the Oscars, even as a filmmaker, because I felt that a film is good if I think a film is good.
Of course, yeah.
And I felt like overhyping a movie because it won an Oscar always meant a disservice to the movie and whatever movies that come after it.
Yeah.
So I never paid really that much hard attention to awards. I pay attention to the Golden Globes, and I pay attention to the Oscar nominations, but I never really care about who wins. I just want to know what movies made it in. And I actually kind of forgot where I was going with that. Yeah. But what I was trying to say is that I'm glad that people are taking up the issue and they're acknowledging these films in other ways that are not dependent on Academy Awards or people that are sort of monopolizing that field. Yeah. So I'm pretty glad. Oscars, huge thing. Mm-hmm. I don't know enough about it to talk about it anymore. Right. But I'm excited that someone called attention to it. Yeah. And I want to apologize to the fact that I thought that those people were wrong, when in reality they're actually pretty right. Some of them maybe didn't approach it the right way. Yeah. Yeah. But ultimately, they're right. We do need more diversity in film, and especially in the award nominations. Yeah, and just to clarify, like, not black diversity. Yeah, just diversity in general. We need more female people. We need more Hispanics, more Turkish, more French. We need everything. More everything. That's what diversity means. Yeah. We need more of it. And if you're a filmmaker and you're one of those minorities, don't get discouraged. Keep doing it, because we're sure as shit going to keep doing it. Damn right. So with that, we're going to drop the Oscars thing and move on to the next bit. But let's talk about Nate Turner. Nate Turner? No, or Nate Parker is the guy's name. Yeah, the Nate Turner is the character in the film. The name of it is The Birth of a Nation. Just recently, it set Sundance history by selling its global rights for $17.5 million. That's a shitload of money. Crazy amount of money, and this for an independent film. Now, but it's an independent film also featuring black leads, a black story. Yes. Black producer, black director, which is the same fucking guy, by the way. Yes. Which is amazing. Directing, writing, producing, and starring in your own fucking movie. Yeah. That's a hell of a workload. Yeah. I mean, it was done in Citizen Kane, but I mean, it's not typically done at a high level all that often, to wear that many hats and still do it successfully. Yeah. So I'm really rooting for this guy and to see his film Birth of a Nation whenever possible, because I mean, $17.5 million from an independent person, like, wow, that's eye-opening. Yeah, that's pretty insane. And I'm excited for that film now. I didn't know about it. I've heard sort of the name Birth of a Nation. I've heard it around, but I didn't know what went behind it. Yeah. And so when we're done recording, I'm gonna definitely research more about it, because I'm excited for that movie now. I want to see what it has to offer. Oh yeah. We're nearing the 30-minute mark, which is about the point where we cut off the catching up and we move on to what we want to talk about just for future episodes. So let's do a little thing where we try to summarize a movie in 1 minute. All right. Sweet. Put up a timer. Do you want me to give you a movie, or do you want to do a movie? Or do you want to choose one? I guess it would have to be a movie that I saw, unless I can make up what I think the movie is about. Yeah, well, let's do it. So I give you a movie. All right. I'm gonna make sure that you've seen this one. I know you've seen that a lot. Okay. So I'm gonna give you one movie, and you're gonna tell me what you best think summarizes the plot. All right. Sweet. All right. We are at 28 minutes. So when that shit hits 29, or 29:30, we're gonna start. So tell me about Inside Man in 1 minute. Inside Man? Inside Man by Spike Lee. Inside Man, it's a heist film, but not your typical heist film. You don't really know where it's going. He's gonna have a lot of people dressed up in jumpsuits. You can't identify who the actual bad guy, quote unquote, is in this film. Not as much shooting, bang bang, shoot 'em up that you're gonna find in a lot of films, but it's very much worth the watch as far as 30 seconds. Just not knowing what's gonna happen at the end. I'm not gonna give too much away because you should see this Spike Lee Inside Man, but it's starring Denzel Washington, Clive Owen, and a few other actors that I couldn't think of the name of. But I highly recommend the film, and it's a great bank heist movie by Spike Lee. Also, cinematography for that movie. You did it. You did 10 seconds to spare. Cinematography for Spike Lee's Inside Man, fucking amazing. I love that film. Nice. And we are it. All right. That's one. Good job. Movie in a minute, Inside Man. Go check it out. Yep. All right, cool. We're going to be right back. We're going to take a little break, get some water. Epic fail. That's a long-ass soundboard. It's still going. Oh, yeah. Like a fucking Donald Duck cartoon. Yeah. Anyway, we're going to take a little break, and then we're going to be back to talk about some Hateful Eight and some of the other big films that came out in December of last year, which was a pretty big month for film. Yeah. I think. All right. Cheers. We'll be right back. Wait. Nope. That's what we leave that dead air for. Yep. Okay. So, we're back. We're back. Hope you enjoyed the little whatever 10-second thing I put in the fade in and fade out. while we were gone for 10 minutes.
It's like pornography for like 10 seconds in the background.
So we hope you really liked it.
Yeah.
Anyways, here's okay. This week has been particularly difficult for me because I watched The Hateful Eight about a week and a half ago.
The Hateful Eight.
The Hateful Eight, which is one of the most, I think, expected Tarantino movies since Django was his last one, right?
Yeah.
Since Django.
Yeah.
This is his first movie since Django, and everyone was super fucking excited for The Hateful Eight.
Oh yeah.
And with good reason. It's a good movie. I'll say that up front. I think it's a really good movie. But I have some shit to say about it.
Let's go.
But first, I want to mention that this conversation has been waiting to happen for about 2 weeks.
Yes, it is.
Because he watched the movie, and it's like, you gotta fucking watch this movie.
Yeah.
Because I got a shit to say about it. So I watched it, and then I realized that I have a lot of shit to say about it. So let's move on. Let's talk about The Hateful Eight.
I guess we should preface it by going in. Before we seen this film, we were huge, and still am, you know, huge Tarantino film lovers. You know, so I mean, the likely chance of me having a bad thing to say about Tarantino or his film is very, very small. Before this film came out, you know, I was just blinded by how amazing the previous movies were.
Cool.
Same
here. I'm a Tarantino fanboy. I absolutely fucking love Tarantino. I love his movies.
Yeah.
And and whatever bad I have to say about The Hateful Eight, I don't think reflects bad on Tarantino.
There we go. Yeah.
It just reflects back on what my expectations for this movie were, and what I think, or where it fell short, and what it did right.
Yep.
So why don't you start us off, because you're the one that has a lot to say about this movie.
Okay. Firstly, all right, The Hateful Eight. First of all, I want to say it's not a bad movie. Like you were saying, it's not a bad movie. I'm still grading it as B-, solid B. You know, for me, there were a number of things that I just, like I said, it wasn't the movie that I was upset by. It was the direction. Like I was just expecting something different. I was expecting growth, but it's a little bit off the subject, but not.
What do you mean by growth?
All right, like with the Coen brothers, you'll see them make one film, and then the next film Inside Llewyn Davis. Then the next film is Hail Caesar. You know, you'll see a completely different style. You know, from one to the next. With let's see.
You're talking about variety.
Joss Whedon.
You're talking about variety in their films?
But the variety and their style.
Okay.
Their style and the cinematography, you know, it's like the Coen brothers have clearly grown. And that's not to say that Tarantino hasn't grown in his style and his cinematography, because he definitely has. But his writing and direction, I don't see the growth. And I don't think that I should be looking for it any longer. You know, because when I'm looking at Spike Lee, I've seen him do the same type of movie where they have the same style for almost 20 years now. I've seen Woody Allen have the same type of movie for almost 20 years now. Tarantino, the same type of movie. The Farrelly brothers, the same type of movie.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, maybe that is just his genre. That's his wheelhouse. And I need to expect to see someone be called nigger 50 times in every movie that he's going to make, you know?
So what you're saying is that, like all those other directors that I mentioned, they've fallen into their pattern.
Yeah.
They have a pattern now, and they've established it.
Yep.
And when you go see a Woody Allen movie, you're going to go see a Woody Allen movie.
Exactly.
You know what you're getting.
Yep.
Same with a Spike Lee. You know you're watching a fucking Spike Lee movie.
Yep.
And I think that's what's happening with Tarantino. Because we only have 8 Tarantino movies.
Yeah.
Compare, how many movies does Spike Lee have?
Spike Lee's up to 17 or so.
17?
Yeah.
And Woody Allen must have a shit ton by now.
Yeah, he's crazy movies.
So these are directors that have, 20 plus, 10 plus movies.
Yeah.
And Tarantino only has 8.
Yep.
Now, which I think that is about the time that people are realizing that, he does have a pattern.
He does.
And he's only going to make 10 movies, so I guess we're not going to get tired of it. Well, he says he's only going to make 10 movies.
Yeah.
We're going to see about that.
Yeah.
But I think that Tarantino has fallen into a pattern. And it's not a bad pattern. It's a good pattern.
That's cool.
But as a Tarantino fanboy, and Tarantino was the guy that made me go like, maybe I should try to make a fucking movie. As that kind of Tarantino fan, when you realize that he has a pattern, it's a little disheartening. It's not bad, but it's a little disheartening. A little discouraging.
Yeah.
But about the movie, my opinion on the movie. I thought it was a really good movie.
Yep.
I thought it was really well done in terms of, pacing and all that stuff. It was the runtime was like 2:48.
It was a long ass movie.
Yeah, it was a really long movie. So in terms of pacing, of course, it's going to be a little slow.
Yeah. It's going to be talky.
And it's going to pick up. It's going to be talky because it's Tarantino.
Yep.
He focuses on dialogue.
Yeah.
And I really liked all of that. And I thought that structurally a very sound movie.
Yeah.
But I didn't like any of the characters except for Sam Jackson. Okay. I did not like any single character except for Sam and maybe Shannon Tatum. Those were the only two actors that made me go like, oh shit, this is a Tarantino movie.
Yeah.
Tim Roth was great. He's a great actor, but I felt like Tarantino didn't use him in this movie.
I'm trying to think of I can't think of many examples to where he gives his characters much depth for you to really feel anything for the character. Yeah. Django Unchained, I guess to an extent, because it's a slavery type thing.
Well, it's also a redemption movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Django Unchained is a redemption movie.
It is, yeah.
So immediately you're supposed to be with Django throughout this whole journey.
Yep.
And with Christopher Waltz's character, sort of teaching Django the world of a free man.
Yeah.
So I think we have an emotional connection with Django.
With that, yeah.
But in Hateful Eight, there's none of that. I mean, these people just kind of show up in a blizzard, and they meet each other. They know about each other. They have a reputation, but they don't know each other, and their relationship sort of forms really fast.
Yeah.
And there's no real build up and payoff of characters. When characters die, and they die pretty fucking horribly.
That's pretty stereotypical for Tarantino.
So when characters die, you just feel like, all right, well, he's dead now. He didn't do it.
Yeah.
Because it's a clue movie.
Basically,
it's a gory Tarantino-esque clue movie.
Yeah.
And when those characters die, you're like, well, he didn't do it. And you see Tim Roth get shot. He didn't do it. Spoilers, by the way.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff. So I think that the build up and payoff wasn't there for the Hateful Eight. And I think that none of the characters were really likable except for Sam Jackson because he was the funniest one.
I despise Sam Jackson's character in that
movie.
I did.
Do you despise them in terms of like, do you despise what he does in the movie or do you despise the way his character was created?
Oh, what he does in the movie. It's like not Sam Jackson. It's just his character.
Okay.
So I mean, to that, I do credit Tarantino for making me feel something for a character.
That's true.
Regardless if it's good or bad. But I did come off despising Samuel Jackson's character, even if that scenario to where I believe it was supposed to be just all made up just to rile the old white guy up to put him in a point, but I had to visually see him, cock rape a guy in the middle of the snow butt naked for like 10-15 seconds of just being face raped.
No, not only that scene that was a 4-minute scene, if I'm not mistaken. Like, that was a pretty lengthy dialogue scene.
Yes.
And here's the thing. That's my favorite scene in the movie. Because it's a Tarantino dialogue scene.
It is.
It's a character playing with another character. That's it. And the dialogue is amazing. It's smooth. And
the dialogue's nice.
Yeah, and Sam Jackson's delivery of it is fucking perfect.
Yep.
My favorite scene in the movie.
Yeah.
But true, it makes none of these characters are likable. At least traditionally. All these characters are assholes.
Yeah.
And complete pieces of shit.
Yeah.
But you sort of want to see where Sam Jackson's character ends up, but you don't see that from any of the other characters except for maybe not even Channing Tatum, which was the most interesting addition to the movie. So I was kind of saddened by that because in Reservoir Dogs, you're thrust up in a situation, and then you see the aftermath of the situation, and then you're sort of taken between clips of what led to that situation, or what led to the aftermath of the situation. And then how they're dealing with how they're dealing with the aftermath.
Yeah.
And that's sort of edited really clever. And I didn't see any of that really clever editing that I usually saw in our Tarantino movies. And I know why. I know that his editor died, sadly, which is a huge shame because she was really talented.
She was.
And now he has this, I think it was the assistant editor.
Yeah.
And now it's the editor.
He did work on Fast and Furious, which is an amazing franchise. Apparently it's grossing millions of dollars. So he's doing very well, but his editing skill doesn't compare to the things that we saw pre Django Unchained.
Yeah, and that makes me a little bit sad, and it's nothing that anyone has any control of. I think it's just a fact that style's got to change now for the person that's editing it.
Yeah,
but I didn't see any clever editing.
No,
it was really well put together and it looked beautiful. But I didn't see any clever uses of edits. And there was this weird shot with Samuel Jackson in slow motion. When he was like, shoot that bitch, or something like that. And it's like, shoot that bitch. I was like, what the fuck is that shit?
Yeah. He used it a few times like that, yeah.
Really? In the movie?
Yeah, he used that slow motion thing at least twice.
Oh, really? I only noticed it one time. It was a Samuel Jackson movie.
What, you talking about when he's laying in the bed?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. One time before that, yeah.
Oh, shit, I didn't even notice it. But apart from the characters, which were all well built, I just didn't give a shit about them.
Yeah.
Especially the female character. Like
Jennifer Jason Leigh.
Yeah, one of her teachers said that she didn't care much for the movie because the character was abused so much. But I agree that they hit her a lot and they like demean her a lot.
Yeah.
But I didn't give a shit about a character to feel bad for her.
Why should I? I have no idea what her backstory is, what she's done to be...
Exactly. They never tell you who she killed, what she did.
No.
She's just kind of there.
Yeah.
And then Channing Tatum's going to rescue her.
Yeah. It's like, just, so I'm supposed to feel bad for her because she's a woman. Not because of any kind of backstory, anything behind that, So, I mean, I need some backstory.
So I didn't really care. She felt like just one of the guys. Yeah. Because she was as much a piece of shit as any of them.
Yeah.
So from that point, and like whatever. Characters or whatever, except for Sam Jackson.
Yeah.
And I liked Tim Roth's delivery of his character. Mm-hmm. But Tarantino does nothing with that character in that movie. He's there, he gets shot, that's it.
Yeah.
Which is a shame.
Yeah.
But... here's another thing I gotta say. I love Tarantino movies. I love what they do.
Yep.
They're fucking great. Mm-hmm. But Tarantino, man, you gotta give us something you gotta give us a little more than niggers and blood.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna get any more than that.
It sucks.
Niggers and blood. I mean, really. Like, that's what I was so disappointed about. I was like, why? It's like, I don't want to limit what his characters can do or say.
Yeah.
I mean, that's because I don't want to be limited myself. I feel like I have the artistic freedom to be able to create a character and put them in any universe that I want and have them to have their own mind and say whatever they want
and
to say.
And behave however they want. That's your right as an artist.
Exactly. So I feel like he definitely has that. But it's just, I have to question when every character that every film that you're making, you're creating characters that are going to be in a scenario to say the word nigger. Mm-hmm. And it's just... It's odd to me. Like I said, one of my favorite scenes in any movie is Pulp Fiction when Tarantino makes a cameo in his own movie just to say the dead nigger storage. It's like he put himself in.
Did you see a sign that says dead nigger storage?
No, you know why? Because destroying dead niggers ain't my business. Exactly. I mean, it was hilarious.
It's one of my favorite fucking lines.
Yes. Like he put himself in his own movie just so he could say the dead nigger line.
Yeah.
And I thought it was amazing. But it's just like, why do you insist on every film that you make that a character has to... It's like he just seems too infatuated with the word nigger for some reason.
Yeah. And I think it comes from his blaxploitation start. Because his movie started as black. He's technically a blaxploitation director.
No,
he technically is. He exploits a lot of the black culture.
Director. He's technically a Japanese. Like, he's technically a lot. He goes in like a lot of different lanes.
He does. I
can't pin him down to only blaxploitation.
I wouldn't say only blaxploitation, but his movies exploit. Yeah, his movies exploit a lot of black culture.
It does.
And I think he's just fascinated with it.
Yeah, I don't think he's racist. I think he's very fascinated to a point, but why?
We gotta start questioning it. We gotta do, because I don't think that he does it in sort of a spiteful thing.
No,
but it's getting a little bit senseless.
I mean, the thing is if I were to make a film and then one of my characters says faggot, and it could go over very well, just like the dead nigga storage. Yeah. But if 7 films from there, and every single one of those films, you know what? In terms of, nobody says nigger in Inglourious Bastards.
That's true.
But there are no niggers in Inglourious Bastards. I'm just saying. But every film he's making, ways to say nigger. So if in 7 films after that, after I had someone say faggot in that film, then the second one someone says faggot, and the third one someone says faggot, and from there on out, it's like, then you have to like look at me a little bit differently. Maybe I'm not homophobic, but
there's something that you're exploring by using that word constantly.
Exactly.
And I hate to say it. I really do hate to say it. But I think I need a little bit more than niggers and blood from Tarantino. I really do. I want to see more. Like, I feel like the wit that was in Pulp Fiction and the wit that was in Reservoir Dogs, and what's the other fucking one, Kill Bill. I feel like the wit is not there anymore. It wasn't there in Hateful Eight, and I'm not. And like I said before, I'm not saying the movie was bad. I fucking love the movie.
It's a solid B movie. Yeah.
It's a solid, really good movie.
It is,
and it's probably one of the best movies that we're gonna get in 2015. It's probably in my top 5 or top 10. 2015 wasn't a great year for movies for me.
I would have to look at it, but yes, I think it's definitely my top 10.
Yeah. And because of that, but fucking dude, Tarantino, you gotta get your shit together, man. Because I'm starting to lose a little. I'm starting to lose a little hope. I really am.
I mean, we got 2 more films from him, and then we'll see after that. Maybe he'll leave his wheelhouse after he's proved that he can do something very, very well. Because, I mean, what he is doing, no one can touch him at that.
No, he's really good at that.
He's great at what he does. So, I mean, maybe he wants to prove a point with 10 films and then move on from there. But as far as what Tarantino does, no one does it as well as he does. And I will give him credit for that.
He's a genius in his own right. Yeah. He really is. Yeah. But I think we're starting to get a little bored with the pattern. Yeah. And I think he should really start looking into fixing that.
No more niggers and blood, Tarantino. No more damn niggers and blood.
But apart from that, the action of the movie was good.
Yeah.
I think the pacing was good, if a little slow at the beginning.
Yeah.
But that was because we were introducing the two real important characters, which was Sam and Kurt Russell.
Yep.
So the pacing was a little slow at the beginning, and then it picked up. But it's a clue movie, and about halfway through the movie, we find out who poisoned the coffee.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give a spoiler alert.
Yeah, we can put something at the beginning so they won't listen further if they don't want the spoilers, because it's about to happen.
Yeah, so we find out this whole shit happens at the cabin, and we find out that Channing Tatum's character is the sister of Daisy Duke, and he found out that he's here to rescue her because Kurt Russell's gonna take her to the hangman.
Yep.
But we don't know that.
Hangman catch you.
You ain't gonna get shot. You're gonna hang.
There you go. They repeat that in numerous times in the film. So, all right,
it's a good line. I really liked it. It's a good line.
It is.
But fucking Channing Tatum comes in, and we see about halfway in the movie, it does a flashback to the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
But we see what's going on in the cabin, and it gives us information that lets us know that Samuel Jackson knew something was wrong from the second he walked into the cabin.
Yep.
But then, by revealing that Channing Tatum's the one behind that, at the half point of the movie, when you flash back into present time, there's no more mystery about who did this, who poisoned the coffee.
Exactly.
It's gone. The mystery's gone. And the fun that I was having with figuring out, okay, maybe it was the sheriff that poisoned the coffee, and he just pretended not to drink it. Maybe it was Sam. Maybe it was one of the characters. All that fun that I've been having, deducing who poisoned the coffee, was sort of ruined by the addition of this character that we didn't know about until this point.
Yeah.
And I think that was my biggest problem with it. It was really fun for an hour and a half, and then it was really fun in a different way. It was just enjoying the aftermath of that. But if that had been just reserved for the last 30 minutes of the movie, and we just had a lot of fun with the first 2 hours about trying to figure out who did it, I think it would have been a better structure for it.
I mean, it goes back to what you were saying earlier, the character development. Like, I didn't care who poisoned the damn coffee. Like, I give a shit less, you know? I mean, he's going around, people are dying callously. You know, Samuel Jackson just shoots you right in the head. Oh, well, he didn't shoot Minnie because she didn't like Mexicans, I guess was the thing, you know? Yeah. So, I mean, it's just like he's shooting people and it's just so callous. I mean, and it's in every Tarantino movie. Yeah. I mean, in one of my favorite Tarantino movie, Jackie Brown, Robert De Niro's character shoots a young blonde girl, you know, just shoots her right in the stomach. And it's like they're just walking through a parking lot, turns around, shoots her twice and one more time when she's on the ground, you know, and then just walks off. But
I feel like that shooting was to deliver a joke.
What do you mean? A deliberate joke?
That scene was deliberate because he was annoyed at her talking.
Yes.
And he was like, if you keep talking, I'm going to shoot you.
We didn't say that, but she should have understood that something was going to happen, that she just didn't keep nagging on,
So that's for delivering a joke. I think that scene, we see Robert De Niro's character is annoyed. This lady keeps fucking talking, and he says, I caught a guy that's going to show her up anyway. And then he shoots her, and then he does some quip about her being annoying.
Is every death in a Tarantino film not a joke, though?
None in Hateful Eight, it didn't feel like a joke. In Hateful Eight, it just felt like gore to me.
I don't know. It was like I said, it was done so callously. Yeah. I mean, it was like there was no one-on-one, let's have this last moment with this character. It was just a bow. Okay,
yeah, it was fucking, which I appreciate that. But think back in a lot of like the significant deaths in Tarantino. Let's say Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
When they shoot Marvin, the guy in the trunk.
Shot him in the fucking head.
It's like, shit, you just fucking, what the fuck, man? Yeah. That kind of scene.
Yeah.
It was a joke. You were there in the car, and he gets shot, and that leads to a whole 15 minutes of a joke.
Yeah.
But in the Hateful Eight, they just get shot. There's no delivery to the shooting.
I see what you're saying, yeah.
There's no setup to the shooting.
Yeah.
They just get shot.
Yeah.
And that bothered me because I'm at a point in Tarantino's career that I expect visual comedy as well as dialogue comedy. Yeah. That's just kind of what I'm expecting. Yeah. I feel like that was my biggest disappointment. It was a good movie, but it's by far not one of Tarantino's best.
What would you rank your favorite Tarantino movies? Your top three?
Definitely Reservoir Dogs is the first one.
That's a classic, yeah.
Pulp Fiction is the second one. And the third one, it's really up for grabs because I really like Django. And I really like Inglourious Bastards. I think they're really good movies. I think Inglourious Bastards win.
I love Inglourious Bastards.
Because Inglourious Bastards was kind of like a historical fantasy, just like a historical fetish, I would describe it. Yeah. And I really like Inglourious Bastards. It's funny at every time. Brad Pitt does an amazing job. Yeah. Like, bring me 100 Nazi scalps. Yeah. And I was like, shit, this is a great Brad Pitt character. He delivers that character perfectly. And I care about every one of those characters immensely.
And the comedy in there is spot on too.
Exactly.
You know, the guy Dominique DeCoco. I mean, it's the comedy there is spot on. It's really good.
It's really good filmmaking too.
It is.
There's one scene where Brad Pitt is talking to a German, but the German doesn't know English.
Yeah.
So they bring in the Bear Jew, I think. One guy that's
one of the guys. Yeah.
And it does this really cool thing with the camera where it starts in the center with the German, and then Brad Pitt starts talking, and it moves to Pitt, and then it moves to the German who's translating Pitt's line, and then it moves to the guy in the middle, and then it moves to the German who's speaking German to the guy in the middle, and then it just sort of keeps going like that to whoever's talking. Yeah. And the camera moves maybe 6 inches every shot, but it's an amazing little cool quip of dialogue and filmmaking.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I love that movie, and I think that's what was missing from The Hateful Eight.
Yeah.
There was not a lot of cinematography looked gorgeous.
It did.
But there was not a lot of that clever filmmaking.
Yeah.
And that was kind of sad for me.
I would rather him take 5 years and just come up with a better written script as far as dialogue, because that's what really made the films for me in the first place.
Yeah.
Like the action and the gore, that was just the icing.
Exactly.
You know, the fact that he could write such an amazing film in Reservoir Dogs. You know, that how much did it take to make Reservoir Dogs?
It was a very cheap movie.
It was a very cheap movie because the script was so spot on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, can you make a Hateful Eight for $10,000 inside of a shitty cabin? You sure could.
Yeah.
You know, you can make that very, very cheap.
But there would need to be a lot of improvement in the script.
Yeah. Exactly. That's the point. It's like that exact same film could be shot for $10,000, but the script will have to be so much better. And it's like you can't throw millions of dollars into a film and expect me to like it because it looks pretty. I mean, I'll give it credit for looking great because it does.
No, the movie looked amazing,
Yeah.
and it was a lot of fun to watch. But it was nowhere near the emotional investment that I had with Reservoir Dogs or Pulp Fiction.
No.
And that's a bit of a shame, because I really like Quentin.
Yeah.
But, Quentin, according to you, you have 2 more movies.
Yep.
Let's see what you got for those 2 movies. I'm going to be with you, man, through your career. I've been with you through 7 movies. I haven't watched 2 of them. No, I haven't watched, 2 of them. So I'm going to be with you for 6 movies.
All right.
I'm going to watch the other 2 eventually.
All right.
But you got 2 more, and I'm going to be with you till the end. But please, no more Niggers and Blood.
I'm kind of done. Like I'm kind of done. Like I'm not gonna pay my money to go to a theater to see another Tarantino movie just because I know what his shtick is. Yeah. But I mean, I'm gonna see the movie, but I don't think I'll pay another $12, you know, to see it in the theater.
I think I got 1 more movie in me before I give up.
I thought I was in after Django. So.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like Django. I think I got 1 more movie before I may call it quits and not pay for another Tarantino movie, which is a shame, but. Anyway, Hateful Eight, great movie. If you haven't seen it, absolutely pay to go see it.
Yeah.
If you like Tarantino, you're going to like the movie.
Yeah.
But you might be a little disappointed with some of the elements that we just talked about.
Yeah.
But I don't think it breaks the feel for me. It just makes it a little bit less enjoyable than a lot of his past work.
Yep.
So absolutely go see it, support it. If you were lucky enough to catch the road show, the 70mm show.
Then I hate you then.
Yeah, we're really jealous because we tried to catch it, but it happened too far away and we just couldn't do it. So if you managed to catch the roadshow and you were listening, tell us how that was, because that must have been an interesting experience. I want to know about it. Put your experience in the comment. Tell us what you thought about Hateful Eight, and then let's talk about it. Let's talk about the Hateful Eight. Let's have a discussion.
And let us know what you think about the damn niggers and blood. Like, I mean, really, like, we can't be the only ones that's seeing this. You know, maybe you don't have a problem with it, but you do see it. You know?
I want people to acknowledge that shit, because it's
Yeah.
happening in every single. I think the only 2 movies that didn't have it were the Kill Bill ones and Inglourious Basterds.
Kill Bill and Inglourious Basterds, yeah.
There's 3 movies that didn't have excessive use of the word nigger.
They had no use of the word nigger in either one. You know, he had a chance to call Vivica Fox a nigger in Kill Bill, you know, but he opted not to.
He didn't do it.
No, he didn't.
So we know that you can do it, Quentin.
You can do
make
it.
3 very good movies without exploiting that the shock value of that word, which I think is diminishing the more that we use it.
It is, yeah.
So you had 3 good movies without doing it. Let's see if you can make 2 more and not use racism as the shock factor for your movies. So, okay, that was Hateful Eight.
Yep.
And we're about 25 minutes into this segment.
Mm-hmm.
So, what did I write about here? I made a fucking outline to see what we would talk about.
Look you, Mr. Organized.
Trying to be. All right, so December 2015. We didn't have the podcast back then. Otherwise, we would have talked about this back in December.
Please be Star Wars.
Yeah, I'm going to totally talk about Star Wars. What the? Are you kidding? Dude, that was the first Star Wars movie that made me feel like a Star Wars nerd.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, I was not born when Star Wars became a thing.
Yeah, I wasn't born in the 70s either.
Yeah, exactly. So and then I wasn't born when Star Wars became a thing with 4, 5, and 6. I was born when the fucking prequels came out. And so that was my first exposition to Star Wars, the prequels.
Yeah.
And I thought it was, okay, I was a kid, but I thought it was okay.
Yeah.
But then I went back and I sort of watched and read all the lore for the 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy shit, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And I loved it. It's so good, such great world building, such great editing, such great fucking character development.
Yeah.
We got Han Solo. I arguably one of the most iconic characters in all of film history.
Yeah.
I mean, he's universally known as the guy that shot first.
Yeah. He definitely is.
And I fucking loved it.
Yeah.
And then I watched A New Hope before I watched 7.
I'm going to ask you about New Hope because I've been hearing a lot of people compare Force Awakens to New Hope.
That's exactly what I'm bringing up. I'm going to talk about Star Wars and then I'm going to get back to that because I think it's bullshit.
Okay, good.
But I watched New Hope before I watched The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
And New Hope was it wasn't a revenge story. The first trilogy was a revenge story with a little bit of redemption and really good action.
Yeah.
I think that's what those movies are for me. And A New Hope, it wasn't the best Star Wars movie. I think that belongs to The Empire Strikes Back. But A New Hope was a very interesting movie because it did all it had to do with the action and it presented every character perfectly.
Yeah.
And it didn't have a lot of comedic moments, but it was funny. It was a funny movie. And Han Solo brought that to the movie. But now, cut back to The Force Awakens. After we got really 3 disappointing prequels, now we have a movie that's bringing the comedy back. And it's bringing the good action back. And it's bringing good filmmaking back.
Yeah. It's
bringing clever lighting back to the movie. It's bringing masterfully directed action shots in the movie, which was my favorite part. Action movies have pissed me off lately. Action movies have completely turned me off.
What, how they cut away from action, basically?
Yeah, how they're doing implied action instead of showing the action.
They won't show the action,
Transformers is really guilty of this. The first movie was good. The first movie showed a fair bit of wide shots. But then the second and third movie, it's to cut money. It's to save money.
Was that Michael Bay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like a lot of Michael Bay films, but the first Transformers is one of them.
The first one, it was great.
But they're doing this thing where they imply the action, they cut in the frame where the punch is supposed to hit.
Yeah.
And then they cut away when the punch is going away.
Yeah.
And it's fucking annoying. Because you're not seeing that anything hurts. Just kind of like, all right, I know that it's happening, but I don't feel the risk.
Yeah.
Star Wars 7 fixed that to me. The actions were beautifully shot.
Yeah.
Every single action scene served as a vehicle to character development in Star Wars.
Yep.
And that's why people are comparing it to The New Hope, I think. Because A New Hope did that very well.
It did.
Everything that happened in New Hope in terms of action was to advance this character forward. And everything that happened in the trilogies, every fight with Darth Vader was giving us a character arc. So, for example, I think it's the last one. Yeah, the last one. When Luke cuts off Vader's hand and is about to kill him, and I think it's, who the fuck is standing there? Palpatine?
I think Palpatine, yeah.
Palpatine?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
He's standing there and he's like, kill him. And that's the thing that's going to make Luke decide whether he goes dark or he goes light.
Yep.
And he sees himself in his character's chopped hand because he is missing a hand himself.
Yeah.
And I was like, shit, I can't kill this guy. He's my dad.
Yeah.
And that whole action sequence was so emotion-filled and so dramatic. Yeah. And it was so good to watch because you felt the struggle of that character. Something the prequels didn't have.
It didn't come across the same way with Han, in that bridge scene. I don't know if we're going to be giving away this Star Wars either.
Let's gonna say it's a spoiler-filled discussion. It's been a month and a half. I think people can talk about it.
Yeah, the emotion didn't translate the same way as it did earlier with Luke and his father. With Han and his son, but it was the same effect. They were going for the same thing. It didn't hit home as hard for me. But
I think that's because the scene with Han and Kylo wasn't the emotional payoff of the movie.
No,
I think the scene with Rey and Kylo at the end, that was the emotional payoff.
Yeah, I
think the Han Solo and Kylo, hit home because fucking Han Solo. I mean, he's not going to be in the movies anymore.
Yeah,
but that was a very risky choice that paid off at the end.
It did pay off. Yeah.
Because we know that, I feel like that was J.J. Abrams acknowledging that the old movies were a thing, but now he's moving in his own direction.
Yeah,
I think that's what that scene meant to me.
I could definitely see that, yeah.
And I'm excited for it. But what did you think about Star Wars: The Force Awakens? I know I loved it. I was a huge fan.
I wasn't the hugest Star Wars fan growing up. I started watching Star Wars when the prequels were coming out. You know, so as soon as the first prequel was coming out, I went back and watched the original Star Wars movies back to back to back. Watched all three of these, then went to see the first prequel, and then started seeing them at the movies after that. You know? So I've seen all the movies maybe twice, you know, each one twice. For me, it's like it's not a part of my childhood, it's a part of more of my adult life because I started watching them as an adult. So I mean, it's like the one series that I really don't involve myself in that much. You know, it's like I go there, I sit back, and then I just let the movie happen. I don't analyze it. I'm not thinking about the relationship between this and this too much. I just want to be engulfed into their universe, you know, for an hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours, and be entertained by it. Though that's one of the few series of movies that I can do that with.
And arguably, it's interesting because you say that you don't like action very much.
Very true, yeah.
But Star Wars is arguably an action movie.
It is, yeah.
And you really like Star Wars.
Yeah, because it's not mindless action. The action, whenever there is action, is to progress the story.
Okay.
You know, so
I know what you mean.
Yeah, so I mean, in Star Wars, it's like, so I mean, I don't have to look away or go take a piss during the action scenes. You know, like Expendables, where they're going to be blowing things up for the next 15 minutes anyway. So, but in Star Wars, it's progressing the story with action. So I have no problem with that, and it was amazing. You know, I mean, it's probably one of the better films. One of the better film experiences that I've had. I can't say it's the best film that I've seen in years, but it's the best I've felt walking out of a theater after seeing that movie in quite a while.
I feel like that's an accurate statement because that's exactly how I felt. Yeah. It might be my top film of 2015, but it might not be the best film of 2015.
Yeah, maybe not.
But I walked in excited. I watched as little trailers as I could. I fucking hate trailers now. Yeah. We're gonna have an episode about trailers. Where I talk specifically about trailers and film reviewers because those two things are pissing me off in the industry. But I watched as little trailers as I could for Star Wars, and I read as little reviews as I could for Star Wars. I wanted to go in the movie not knowing what to expect because I didn't like Star Trek, the J.J. Abrams version. I didn't like it. I thought it was a bit.
We can get into that another day because I'm a huge Star Trek fan. All right.
But I was worried about Star Wars because I didn't feel like Star Trek was as strong as it could have been.
Okay.
And when I walked into Star Wars, I was like, maybe this won't be as good. I'm managing my expectations.
Yeah.
But I walked out fucking loving Star Wars.
Nice.
Because it was funny, it was witty, the action was well done, the filmmaking was fucking great.
Yeah.
And it was just, I was excited the whole movie. I was never sort of laid back and just watching a thing. I was always kind of like involved in what was happening.
The entire time. Yeah.
And it felt really good.
You did.
And I feel like now we're going, because that was what film was before we had this mindless years of action and remakes and young dystopian literature.
Yeah.
And I feel like now filmmakers are going to like, okay, well, no, it didn't work. Let's go back to what made films great and let's bring back that good old sort of film feeling.
Yeah.
And that's what Star Wars did for me.
It
Star Wars set a really good precedent for that.
Yeah.
And I liked it. It was just a good fucking movie. And it was adorable. BB-8 was my favorite character in that movie,
amazing.
I think. You know the scene when he goes like, John Boyega is like giving him a thumbs up for lying?
Oh, it takes a lighter?
Yeah, it takes a fucking lighter.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah.
That's so good. It's the little subtleties that, first of all, the prequels lacked. And just those little subtleties that make a movie come alive. Because every character feels real and relatable. And not to mention that, first of all, this is a movie with a young female lead and a black actor.
Yeah.
In Star Wars.
In Star Wars.
In fucking Star Wars. Arguably the biggest franchise.
Yeah.
And nobody had a problem with it.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't feel like they should either. I
don't think so either. But you'd expect some lashback.
You would, I guess you would, yeah.
And it didn't happen.
No.
So it was just a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
From the moment this movie was announced, everyone was scared about it. And it turned out to be one of the most beautiful film experiences that I had in 2015.
Yeah.
Fuck, I can't talk. 2015.
Yeah.
And J.J. Abrams, I applaud you. You did a fucking fantastic job with that movie.
You sure hell did.
Anything that you want to say about it?
More about Star Wars? No, like I said, I mean, it was the best film experience. Like, I'm leaving out the last time that I can remember going to the movie, seeing a movie, and walking out feeling great was what's the one with Chris Pratt? Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah. That was another really good movie.
Yeah.
Out of 2015.
Like, I had no expectations of Guardians of the Galaxy at all. Walked in and then, like I said, I had the same feeling. When I walked out, I was like, wow. But the thing is, I want to see if I have that feeling with Guardians too. Like the next one. You know, because it's a thing where they created a universe and they have the rules of that universe. So I mean, I'm very much engulfed into what's going on, trying to understand what the rules of these universes, who can do what, and and that thing. But what is going to happen once you already know the rules in the next movie?
And I think that's all right. Let's talk about superhero movies now.
All right.
Because I love them, but they're pissing me off.
All right.
And here's why: Guardians of the Galaxy is a very good example of what a good superhero movie is.
Yes.
You don't know nothing about these characters. Unless you're a hardcore comic reading fan, you really know nothing about the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
And then James Gunn came in and he gave us this movie where he explains what every character is. You get the backstory of every character. It's not preachy about any of the backstories. You just kind of get them naturally. And then the dynamics of these characters build up really, really well.
It was.
And you get a villain that's not really all that interesting, but the actor that plays him is great. Lee Pace.
Yeah.
You get a character that's not that interesting, but that doesn't matter because your main characters are so interesting. So it balances out. And I thought that Guardians of the Galaxy did that very well, and it built the universe really, really well. And it was funny, and it was good action.
Who knew that Chris Pratt could carry an entire movie and now franchise? Like,
right?
From the chubby tall guy on Parks and Recreation, and now he's like carrying one of the biggest movies to ever hit the world in Jurassic World. You know, he's carrying Guardians of the Galaxy. He's carrying Lego Movie.
That was Chris Pratt too.
Chris Pratt too.
Yeah, he did a really good job in that shit.
Yeah, I mean, he's becoming a blooming superstar at this point.
Yeah. I really appreciate Chris Pratt's career. He's good, and he's never shitty.
No,
he's a good guy.
He seems like a genuine good guy.
He's a fucking good guy.
Yeah.
But Guardians of the Galaxy did just that.
Yeah.
Build a universe from scratch,
Yep.
and you were like, okay, I can be in this universe. Let's see what it's got.
Yep.
And Avengers did that. The first one.
Yeah, the first
one did
was
that really
amazing.
Well. I fucking loved Avengers.
Yep.
That was just called Avengers, right? They didn't have a subtitle.
Yeah, it was just the Avengers.
That was my favorite Marvel film. And then Avengers 2 came out, and
Age
it fell
of
flat.
Ultron.
Yeah, and it fell flat because of that. Because the characters were already built, and you gotta keep these characters alive because you're gonna need them for another movie because you're setting up a bigger universe.
Yeah.
So they become sort of things that you churn out to keep the characters alive, but there's no risk to them.
Exactly.
There's no sort of arc anymore because the arc happened in the first movie.
Yeah.
The other thing that happens, there's a formula now.
Yeah.
And it's like, Avengers get together, they're working together, someone does something, usually Tony, does something, and then they get separated, they fight, and then they go like, oh, teamwork makes the dream work, and then they get together, they solve the problem, and now they're together again, except in this movie they just disbanded.
Yeah.
But now we have another Avengers, another group of Avengers, so I'm hoping that we get some of that back. But superhero movies are doing that now, and they're becoming sort of stale.
Superhero movies, but the thing that we've been talking about was great. The best thing that I've seen happen with this so far is Netflix.
Oh, Netflix has been amazing.
Amazing. Daredevil. I mean, I wasn't even a huge Daredevil fan. I mean, I knew full well of Daredevil, but I mean, I wasn't a Daredevil fan.
Neither was I.
But after seeing the series on Netflix, amazing, 5-star. Highly recommend to see that. Jessica Jones, that was very, very good as well.
Jessica Jones is my favorite Netflix original series.
Wow.
Yeah.
That says a lot. There's a lot of good things on Netflix.
The House of Cards. Yeah. It's original. Arrested Development is also now Netflix original.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is now.
What else? We got Daredevil, which was equally as good.
Yeah. Luke Cage is coming out soon. With
Luke Cage.
Yeah. That's coming out this year.
Which is the same dude that played him in Jessica Jones.
Yeah, it's the exact same guy.
That guy. I fucking love that guy.
Yeah, I think he's going to be
really good.
Yeah.
Okay, but you were it looks like you were going on a tangent about Netflix, and I stopped.
I mean, just that Netflix is taking and giving us exactly what we want in a movie, but stretching it out and giving it to us in a series. So I mean, I don't mind if I have to watch it, over a period of time in a series as opposed to on a big screen in a theater. Just do it right.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what I feel like Netflix is doing.
I'm absolutely in love with the way Netflix is handling content, and the way that it's handling characters.
Yeah.
Because every single character, Daredevil not as much. Daredevil had his flaws with characters. Some of the characters were a little flat.
Okay.
But the ones that mattered really, the main three dudes and Fisk.
Yeah.
Were really good. They were fucking fantastic. I forgot the actor of the guy that played Fisk.
Yeah, he was really good. Yeah,
but he was amazing. Yeah. Probably my favorite villain in recent superhero lore. No, Kilgrave. That goes to Kilgrave for me.
Oh, the villain?
Yeah. But Daredevil did something really good, and it set a precedence. And I think that it mattered. Mm-hmm. It showed that you can make a dark and gritty superhero movie series without the cheese.
Yeah.
And everything felt real. All the dialogue was good. All the characters mattered. And I think that Netflix took what they learned from Daredevil and they put it to the next level in Jessica Jones.
I didn't even notice something until you just said it just now, that in Daredevil you had the three characters who had lots of character development. You know, they had a lot of depth. Then looking at Jessica Jones, all those characters have depth. Yeah. You know, looking at it now, I mean, I like Daredevil a lot more than Jessica Jones, but now that you're saying that it's not just Jessica's character, it's not just Luke's character, it's not just her sister, it's not just a lawyer.
It's everyone that's on screen for more than 5 minutes has really good character development.
They do, you know. So, yeah, that was just my point. I mean, yeah, Netflix is doing an amazing job. We might not be getting it in theaters the way that we want, but I mean, we still have movies coming out. Batman, Superman might be something worth watching. Suicide Squad is coming soon.
I'm excited for that one.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that one.
Then
Deadpool.
And Deadpool. Yeah.
Deadpool.
And Deadpool's coming out really soon too.
But here's the thing that the two movies that I'm more excited about have in common. Suicide Squad, Deadpool, and then Jessica Jones. Let's look at what all those characters have in common. And it's very, very simple. They're just well written. They're just really well written.
Who would have knew that if you write something well, then people will like it.
Like, you can put as many spins as you want to any of those movies. You can find as many angles as you want. Yeah. But truth of the fact is, they're just simply really well written.
They are.
And Jessica Jones specifically does something really well with female characters. They write female characters the way that we're used to seeing male characters.
Yeah.
And it works. Who would have fucking thunk that treating women like people in a film would make them work?
No way.
Who would have fucking thought?
No way.
So, Netflix has been doing it right for me ever since they started working with House of Cards.
Yeah.
They've just been doing it right. They write, they hire really good writers, really good directors. They give them artistic freedom. Yeah. And we see the results. And as a consequence of that, cable's falling short, cinema's falling short.
Yeah.
They're losing viewers because people like Netflix know what the viewers want. They're listening to us.
Yeah. And
I think that's really important when you're making films.
I think you hit on something too just now in making film, and is what I've been trying to get into in writing, is writing a character. Yeah. Just the character. It doesn't mean you're not writing a gender or a race. You're writing a character. You know, so I mean, Jessica Jones, you can take that white lady out and put it in an Asian man.
Yeah,
you know,
it'll still work.
Exactly, it will still work. You're writing for a character, and I mean, regardless of who's playing that character, I mean, it's very well written.
Same with, you can do that with any character in that show, in Jessica Jones.
You can.
You can do the same with Kilgrave, with Luke. Yeah. You can put a fucking white midget in Luke's character.
Yeah, and it still works.
And it will still work.
Yeah.
Great writing. I fucking loved it. It's really good writing. The writer was a woman, by the way. Yeah. Melissa, I forgot her name. Melissa Cartwright, I think. Yeah. But she's fucking amazing as a showrunner. So that's the kind of shit I want to see more. Just in general. I want to see that kind of quality writing, that fucking soul and passion for filmmaking that I feel like has been lost lately. And that's why I want to go into films. I want to make that caliber of show.
And plus, Kristen Ritter is hot. I mean, I have to give her that.
She's really attractive.
I mean, she's not hard on the eyes, so.
But that's another thing that I noticed about that show, because it gave eye candy to everyone.
Oh yeah.
Because you had a white lead, you had two white leads, you had a really bulky, strong black lead, and then you have Kilgrave, a really sophisticated sort of British guy. Yeah. And all those characters did everything for me.
They work for me.
And Kilgrave is my favorite superhero villain that I've seen, because he's not evil for the purpose of being evil. It's evil because he had fucked up things happen to him, and he discovered he could do a thing that no one can.
Until like one of my favorite lines in the series, she's like, "Kilgrave, what was murder corpse taken?" You know, it was just like so self-aware. You know,
it really was. And it doesn't take itself too seriously. I think that's another problem. Yeah. And my favorite line from Kilgrave in the show, and it's going to be a stupid line, he was watching a soccer game in this family's house, and he like, come on, you gender twat! And I was like, shit, that was a really bad fucking accent. But that's my favorite line in any movie. Yeah. And it's little moments like that. You don't have to put moments like that in film. Or in any scene, but they're the ones that solidify a character.
It does.
When we're alone with them on screen, and when we're not with them on screen, they feel like they're doing something else in that world. That's good writing.
One of my favorite scenes in a Woody Allen movie, it's called Annie Hall. Jeff Goldblum makes a 3-second cameo. It's one of the first movies he was ever in. It's only 3 seconds. And as Woody Allen is walking past Jeff Goldblum, he's on a cell phone staring at the wall. And he's I forgot my mantra. And that's it. You know, that was it. You know, like stuff like that is like I love.
Yeah, it's the little details. I think you can do a lot of the things with filmmaking if you focus on the broad aspect of it. Yeah. But when you really dive into a scene and you see that little thing, that little sort of makes a character come alive.
It does.
And that's what we're missing.
Yeah.
From really big films now.
Yeah.
And I want it. That's what Die Hard had it.
Yeah.
That's what good movies have when you look at it.
They do.
Die Hard had it. You know, your character you could relate to him.
Yeah.
The villain in Die Hard, holy shit.
He was pretty awesome.
Inside Man had it. The subtleties of the characters.
Yeah.
Just watched that film recently in class. Really good fucking movie if you haven't seen it.
Yeah.
What other one of my favorite? Reservoir Dog had it.
Yeah.
You could really tell the subtlety of the characters, and it was great. I fucking loved it. We're missing that. We need more of that. Yeah. So if you're a filmmaker out there and you happen to be listening to this, study that shit and put it in your writing because it's good.
Please.
All right. Anything? I know I went on a long ramble about the shit that I like. Anything that you want to mention from last year that's caught your attention?
From the last year, in television, a few shows. One show is going off the air. It's called The Leftovers. I love that show. It's from the same people that made Lost. It's a really good show.
Is it the same director and same writer, or is it?
I believe it's just the same producer.
Same producer.
But I'll have to look into that.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's as long as you're into a mystery and not knowing what the fuck is going on at any point, then this is a great show to watch. They're canceling it after season 3, but the good thing is at least they know they're on a hiatus right now, and at the end of season 2. You know, so the good thing is that they'll have closure at the end of season 3 instead of just being up in the air. You never knew.
It's not gonna be a Firefly situation.
God, Firefly. Oh, Joss Whedon. They fucked him so bad.
He's so good at making shows that don't last long.
Yeah. Yeah, he had a show called The Dollhouse that I really liked.
Great show too. I loved it.
And they cut that
shit down too. But you tell us a little more about The Leftover, because it's a show that I don't think a lot of people know about.
They don't, because it's getting canceled. Because people are not watching this show, but because there's so much mystery wrapped around it. Pretty much the beginning is a good number of people are sucked up into heaven. You know, which would be similar to what the rapture would be. You know, so a good amount of people are, sucked up into heaven, and there are only so many people left on earth. Those people left on earth, they're just left looking around like they were holding their child's hand, and now they have an empty hand in there. There's nobody there. Yeah, like they literally just disappear. But then after a short amount of time, of grieving and thinking that these people are dead, they all return. After like a couple of weeks or whatever, and they all return in wearing all white, and they're calling themselves the guilty remnant, and they're there to remind you that the world is over. That the world is already over. So they're just continually smoking cigarettes, and they will not speak to anyone. They'll write on a piece of paper to communicate whatever they need to communicate. But pretty much you're just trying to find out what's going on there. Like why were these people taken? Was it heaven? What did they go to purgatory? What's going on with that? But besides that, it's graphic. I mean, this is probably one of the most graphic television shows that I've ever seen in my life. I mean, when they have a scene to where one of the guilty remnant is stoned to death, and they show it. They don't cut away from the stones smashing her face as she is blood curdlingly. Pretty much they tie her to the tree, to finally get her to speak. Because she won't speak. They tie her to the tree.
So this is a group of desperate people.
Yeah. Because they don't understand what's going on around them. Yeah. That these people disappeared, and now they've come back as a guilty remnant and won't explain anything to anyone. So they trap this woman, tie her up to a tree to see if they can torture her to make her make any kind of audible sound. So they begin stoning her to death, like biblical stoning. Until she finally screams out in pain. Still not saying no, but just from the pain screaming. Blood curdling to where the skin is peeling off of her face, and is just see bone and skeleton.
And they show it.
Damn. I mean, it's like the only thing that I could think of close to something like that would be, do you watch Game of Thrones at all?
No, but another way it handles character deaths and how it does everything on camera. It does it really well.
Yeah, for the most part. But when it comes to certain things, they still won't show, even on Game of Thrones. Yeah. On the last season, there was a small child, a girl. She had a disease to where it made her skin turn gray. It was like grayscale or whatever it was called. And series of circumstances ended up happening to where they needed to sacrifice the child. You know, she was the daughter of a king. So when they went to burn her at the stake, they showed her at the stake, but then they cut away from the fire. Yeah, so you don't see her actually burning and screaming. You know, or in The Walking Dead, when Carol takes the girl that killed her little sister, and she's clearly crazy, and she takes her out to the pasture and shoots her in the back of the head. Yeah. You know, you have the imagery of that happening, but you don't physically see her with the gun to the back of the head. It's implied. Yeah. With The Leftovers, nothing is implied. Like, you see what is happening, and it's very, very graphic. You know, so
that sounds interesting. I think I might check that out. It's a pretty interesting.
It's a really good show. It's just you won't know what the fuck is going on and why. But it's amazing to look at. And one other show was Master of None. Aziz Ansari.
I heard about that one. Yeah,
that's really, really good. I didn't know what if he could handle carrying his own show on his own, but I mean, it's amazing. If we're talking about diversity, I mean, we have him being an Indian guy. One of the co-stars is a black lesbian woman. The other character is an overweight, white, redhead, ginger guy. And, you know, I mean, it's
sounds like the setup to like one of those jokes you tell at a bar.
Yeah.
It's like a fat ginger guy, a black lesbian, and an Indian walk into a bar.
You know, but what makes it good is just like whenever I see, like, I don't agree with forced diversity. You know, because I mean, I wouldn't want to see DMX hanging with Ross and Chandler from Friends in an episode. I'm like, what world are they hanging out in? You know, but in Master of None, it's like I can see Aziz Ansari hanging with these collection of people, and it really works. Okay. And as far as how they shoot it, I mean, it's a what is it? I can't think of the style of the shot, but it's low lit. It looks very nice. It looks very artsy.
Is it similar to the way Louis or Maron is shot? Because it's along the same lines of comedy. It's Louis and Mark Maron's show.
I mean, it's a little more optimistic as far as the tone, but filming it looks a little darker as far as the way it's filmed. You know, but
I gotta check that out because I know that Aziz has gotten a lot of praise for that show.
It's amazing,
and I like Aziz as a comic, but I haven't seen him as an actor that much.
This show is better than anything I've ever seen him do. Better than the 2 stand-up comedy specials that I've seen on Netflix. Better than
He was in
Parks and Recreation.
Parks and Rec,
yeah, like better than all of that. It's very, very, very good. Like this stands alone, and I think he's headed in the right direction.
That's awesome.
What about you?
As far as shows that came out, film definitely Star Wars and definitely Hateful Eight were good ones. Yeah. And there were a couple of movies that I couldn't catch, but I'm looking to watch like The Big Short and Spotlight. Yep. Those were 2 movies that I didn't catch that I really, really, really want to watch. Yeah. But as far as television shows, I recently discovered Mark Maron's Netflix show. Yep. And holy fucking shit, I am in love with that goddamn show. It is so good. And like, first of all, I love dark comedy. If you're a dark humor person, and you make a show, you're probably gonna catch me in. I love Louis. I can't watch the show for Louis because it's so cringy. I can't do it because it physically hurts. Because I know what it feels like to be in situations like that, so I can't do it. Yeah. But that's what Louis does. Louis plays with your sense of uncomfortable.
With the uncomfortable, yes.
And he does it really well. And as a result, I can watch the show. Okay, yeah. But Mark Maron is angry. He's angry at the world.
He's the angry Jew.
That's exactly what he is. He's a fucking angry Jewish guy. Yeah. And I watched his stand-up because I know that Mark had a complicated life. He had this whole thing with drugs. Yeah. And then he came back and sort of started getting popularity and started redeeming himself with the people that he fucked over. So when you take that into consideration, I can see why his worldview is so fucked up. Yeah. But the way he presents the show, it's just like, it's really well shot. It doesn't do a lot of fancy shots. No. It's not fancily filmed. But visually, the editing and the writing work really well together.
It does.
And he's got this one line in the first episode. Dennis Leary asked him, how are you? How's your self-esteem? And he was like, I mean, I hate myself, but it's okay. And so immediately you get the tone for the show. I mean, this is a guy that's trying to figure out how to make a podcast and grow his own podcast and be a comic and not be the angry Jew that he is. He's trying to figure that shit out. Yeah. And it doesn't really work. Because that's what he is. He's just an angry person. Yeah. And he sees the shitty things in the world, and he tries to stay comfort in them. Yeah. And that's why I like that brand of comedy. It's really, really well written show, really well delivered. Yeah. Mark Maron as an actor he's playing himself, but as an actor he's really good. I think it takes talent to play yourself because you're playing an exaggerated version of you. Yeah. So I think I think that's one of my favorite shows. And Maron also did Thinky Pain, really good stand-up commercial.
Yep. And a couple of books that he's written. Jerusalem Syndrome, I didn't read that one, but Attempting Normal, I did read, which is really, really, really good.
Do you have a copy of that?
I might have a copy of the house. Yeah.
If you have a copy, I'll take it because I've been meaning to read it. So Mark Maron's my favorite comic lately. He's just, as far as comedy goes, he's my favorite as of right now. That's really, as far as television show, apart from Jessica Jones and Maron, I haven't really been watching a lot because a lot of the content doesn't particularly interest me, which is kind of sad. And I started watching Arrow from CW.
Yeah.
And it's a soap opera with superheroes. That's what it is. The Walking Dead, I couldn't get into it when it came out. I still can't get into it.
The Walking Dead?
I cannot get into the fucking Walking Dead.
We're like an hour and a half in, and you just said that you don't like The Walking Dead?
I can't do it.
Whoa.
Yeah, and it's not anything that's wrong with the show. It's just that I don't care about zombies anymore.
No, well, I mean, it's not even about zombies, though. Not at this point.
That's the problem. It tries to be a zombie show that's not entirely focused on zombies.
It's not.
And so, like, I don't like any other character except Rick.
You have to. I don't even like. Rick's not my guy. What's the name? Carol is my guy. A white lady, kind of bald white lady.
I know what she is. She was the one that was abused by her husband at the beginning.
Yeah.
She's pretty nice. Yeah.
That's my favorite character. Her and Carl. Yeah.
I don't know. I just couldn't get into it, and it's a shame. And I've tried. I fucking tried. I've watched. Season 1 was good. Season 1 was really good.
Well, let's not go too far into it because we can go do a whole episode on Walking Dead.
That's true. Let's not get into it too much.
You could bring any guests in for that.
We're about 5 minutes away from closing.
Let me some TV premieres that are coming out and some movies that are coming out this coming week before we podcast again.
Right, do it.
For the week of January 28th through February the 3rd. First, on the CW, they have The Originals and Vampire Diaries coming back on Friday the 29th. I'm not a big fan of either shows, but my girlfriend loves them both. So if we have any girl listeners, then I'm sure you'll get into it. On Sunday, the 31st of January, they're doing a rendition of Grease. It's going to be Grease Live. I will be checking that out. Super gay. Yes, I'm into it.
Is that going to be a play?
Like a stage play.
Where is it?
I don't know where they're going to be doing it.
I don't know. Okay.
But I mean, it's kind of like how they did The Wiz Live. I mean, just another version of it.
Yeah.
Next, on Tuesday, on February the 2nd, is going to be The People versus O.J. Simpson. That's going to be a mini-series starring Cuba Gooding Jr. It's important for me just because I was alive, like, and cognizant of everything that was going on when the O.J. stuff was happening. Like, I was literally at home on a Friday evening at around 7 or 8 o'clock, and I was watching this thing called TGIF. It was called Thank God It's Friday. This station on ABC or NBC at the time. I was watching Family Matters. Well, Family Matters was going off and Step by Step was coming on. And they interrupted Step by Step to show a white Bronco driving down the interstate for like 45 minutes to an hour. I missed out on a complete episode of Step by Step that I'll never get back. It's not even on Netflix, so I don't even know what happened now.
Fuck you, OJ. You interrupted my goddamn show.
Hell yeah. So anyway, The People versus O.J. Simpson, February, Tuesday on the 2nd. That's all for that week. As far as the movies that are released this week, Kung Fu Panda 3. Didn't see the first two, but if they keep on making them, they must be doing something right there,
I just watched a review for Kung Fu Panda 3 before we started.
Yeah.
People say it's a solid trilogy now. It's a really good trilogy for families.
Well, that's good for Jack Black. I'm glad he's out here doing stuff. That's nice. And then lastly is 50 Shades of Black.
I saw the poster for that one 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And first I was like, all right, what the fuck? And then I was like, maybe I should check this out.
It may be funny enough. I mean, the Wayans family is all into parodies and spoofs, so I mean, I'm sure it'll be funny enough. 50 Shades of Black by Marlon Wayans.
All right, is that everything that's coming out this week?
That's everything that's coming out this week.
All right, sweet. I'm excited. I think I'm gonna check out Kung Fu Panda. I'm excited for that one, and I'm gonna check out the O.J. Simpson thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and let's disclose something. B.O.B. man, B.O.B.
Oh my God!
What the fuck?
So we're gonna go into the epic fail of the week. B.O.B. Like, I don't understand. I don't understand. I don't get it. Yeah. This is gonna be a weekly segment of epic fails. This one right here is just starting it off. This is like one of the biggest fails that I've seen in some time. How do you get to be a 27-year-old man and believe that the Earth is flat.
Not only a 27-year-old man, but a 27-year-old professional rapper.
Yeah, professional. Yes.
Professional rapper. I mean, you're in the industry with really smart people. You're really smart at making music.
Yes.
Because he is really good at what he does.
He is. He's very talented.
But what the fuck, B.O.B.? What the fuck is wrong with you? Like, okay, listen. I appreciate that you took the time to watch a couple YouTube videos telling you that the Earth is flat. But when an astrophysicist tells you on Twitter that the Earth is not flat, you might want to fact check what you're saying.
I don't know. Maybe they're paying Neil deGrasse Tyson off. You know, he's trying to keep us away from the edges.
The Illuminati.
Yeah, the Illuminati don't want us to know that the Earth is flat. We'll be jumping off that bitch.
But okay, so this thing. Fucking B.O.B. went on a 17 Twitter post, right?
Yeah, he did.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
Neil deGrasse Tyson fired back and said, "Listen, just because you think like the way we thought 500 years ago doesn't mean that we can't like your music."
Yeah.
But then B.O.B. put out a diss track towards Neil deGrasse Tyson called, was it Flatline?
Flatline.
Called Flatline. So that fucking happened. First of all, that's amazing.
That happens.
We have a rapper dissing a fucking astrophysicist.
We have a rap science beef. Yes.
And then Neil deGrasse Tyson's nephew came in and dropped another diss track towards B.O.B. called Flat to Fact.
Yeah. Like straight Weird Al Yankovic style. I mean, completely going in and roasting B.O.B. It's pretty funny just because of the subject matter. Like, I don't think there's a single swear in it whatsoever.
No.
I mean, it's just straight breaking him down through science.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It is.
And if go check it out, you'll certainly laugh.
Yeah.
Neil deGrasse Tyson, thank you for this shit. It's been my favorite thing that's happened this year.
Hilarious.
And I'm with that, the year starting off like that, I want to know what the fuck's happening like by the end of the year.
Yeah.
Because this year is going to be amazing. If that's anything to say. I think that's all we had to say today.
Let's see. Yeah, we talked about the Oscars, B.O.B. Yeah.
That's it?
I think we're good.
All right, sweet. So thank you for joining us on the first episode of For Film's Sake. This is going to be a weekly podcast where me and Chris talk about whatever the hell we want to talk about.
Yep.
Usually pertaining to film or TV. We use bad language and we say shit.
Yep.
So thank you for listening. We appreciate it. And I hope you're back next week. Have a good one, folks.
Later. Thanks.